Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmidty, Swanee and Clarkey visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right, how are we?
Very well, thank you.
Moderately tipsy.
Yeah. So for our listeners, we're doing some back-to-backs now because the countdown is on for Woo and Clarkey to go overseas. We don't want anyone down.
And Swanee as well.
They might not come back.
Oh, my God, everyone.
No, we are coming back. I was Googling on the weekend long-term rentals in Italy, and you can get places for 500 Australian dollars a month.
Well,
oh, yeah.
And that's the cheaper ones.
Make sure you take your microphone, your laptop, your headsets.
It couldn't be any different than Perth.
Yeah, what's that? $1 billion a month?
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about that. I meant it's in terms of calling in. As long as you've got, it's just a bit more exciting.
Good internet. Yeah. Geez, you think we struggle with the 2-hour time difference? Anyway, that would be weird.
Well, Kate Langbrook did her
I was just thinking
breakfast show from Italy, so...
She did, so it's doable.
Yeah, it'll just become trial by coffee for some of us and trial by wine for others.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have certainly some beautiful wines to... Mm-hmm. There you go. Maybe you have to do like trial by wine, the Italian...
Trial by vino.
Yes.
Vino.
Well, we just had a short break. So I'm Schmidty.
I'm Swanee.
And I'm Clarkey. And together we are
Trial by
Wine.
And what are we drinking?
Yeah.
Another Diet Coke, Carla? Or the
no,
same
I'm on the water now.
Water.
Although, to be fair, some of this actually, I've got a little bit of DC left from...
You need to calm down.
Not DC, sorry. Coke Zero from last time.
That is what happens when you're doing the story. You don't have time to drink.
No.
Not
so
true.
I'll finish that off. Over 5 hours, you do get a chance to have a drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was struggling to say my words after the end of that.
I didn't even have an excuse for that last episode. I couldn't speak. All the place names and surnames, and that was very challenging.
Yes.
So what have you got, boys?
Well, I'm just polishing off the last of the Greyland, but Stuart's on to the Big Red Duck 2020 Heathcote Shiraz, which is the
one we make.
That we make, yeah, if you listen to us regularly.
No, I do, and yet I never remember that that's yours, yeah. But I do like a Heathcote Shiraz, so I'm always impressed by that.
Oh, it's very nice, Dale. It's very nice.
It's nice, different, unusual. I'm drinking a Damson gin. So, as I said, I went sober on the last one. It is my story, so hopefully I won't get too schmozzled, whatever the word is on this one.
Shit-faced.
Yeah, two sips in and I can't even say sozzled. Yeah. Okay, so this is one of those stories that I'd heard about at the time. So I lived this story in some respects.
Oh.
If you've done the same story I've done, we're going to have a fight.
Oh, I doubt it. You like the Australian ones and I like the UK ones.
And this is
from
haven't
the
done
UK.
the same. We haven't done the same. You've absolutely nailed that.
that.
Well done.
Yeah. So I was still living in the Southwest, aka the Wild West, and this was enormous news. So
There is a lot that goes on in the Southwest.
Well, this is actually set up north, but yes, there's a lot that goes up on in England and the UK. And you've got to remember, it's a population of 60 million people.
In a very small area.
And, when we pull all these ones out from America, I think it's also worth noting there's 300 million people. So the bigger the population, the more likely you're going to have a crime rate.
I think the key there, Swanee, is in very close proximity because you get a whole lot more tense when there's a lot of people around. And, you get that sort of underlying angst where you're like, oh, would you just fucking not do whatever it is that you do?
Yeah.
And so I could imagine for the right person in the wrong circumstances, they would just go, right,
trigger.
You're nicked, Gov.
Sorry, I was saying I was still in the Southwest and this was really big news. And so, Swanee, I really do think this will ring a bell. In fact, you'll probably know this once I get into it.
I hope so.
It'll ring your bell.
It'll ring your bell.
Ding
your
dong.
bell.
I've just had a memory.
Ring-a-ling-a-ling.
When I was in the Gong, Colette is teaching.
No, the bell, doll, the bell.
Colette, who sang the song,
Yeah,
right?
he sang that song, yeah.
She's teaching one of my friend's daughters, but I can't remember what she was teaching because she came home and she said,
Music?
Mum, have you ever heard...
Bad 80s history?
I don't think it was music, actually. I don't think it was music. I
That
don't know what
doesn't
it was.
surprise me.
Oh, yeah,
no,
she
that's
would not
okay.
have taught music.
But I had a couple of drinks and I can't recall. But anyway, you've taken me straight back. Colette, it must be in the gong teaching something.
In her bike shorts?
In her bike
Was
shorts.
she still in her bike shorts?
I thought she was gorgeous.
Did she?
She probably is. She's probably come back to the bike shorts are in again.
She's probably very nice. Do you remember her arm movement? She ring my bell.
You certainly
ring
did.
my bell. Totally. I'm scarred by it. I used to watch a lot of Rage.
Sorry, I've just got to put Colette in and Shea Panda's still on.
Panda.
Oh, Shea Panda was cute in the end.
Oh, I know.
I felt so awful
love
for all
Shea
those
Panda.
nasty things I said about Shea Panda.
I know, because when I first heard it, I kept going, what? What are you calling it? What? What's it called? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my
Who's
God,
Shea Panda? What? Yeah, I love you, Shea Panda. I miss you.
Shea Panda, you represent the bond and I can't think of the word.
The
What's
eternal
unconditional
bond
love
between,
and bond and pet and the owner. Oh my
between
God.
owner and puppy.
Shea Panda. Your memory will live on long with the trial by one.
Crew. Yes. On the merch.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Little
Especially that
random,
photo.
but sure.
Shea Panda.
Shea
Panda
what?
with
Shea
this-
Panda.
Bits out.
Put it away, Shea Panda.
Little bum bag. Merch bum bags.
Shea Panda carrier.
My sources are Wikipedia, thesun.co.uk, themirror.co.uk, birminghammail.co.uk.
I feel like you could say Birmingham Mail better than that.
birminghammail.co.uk.
Oh, you're good at that.
That was
Oh, well done.
Who do you know from Birmingham that you channel for that to get it so...
Actually, there was a bloke who worked in my current place years ago, and he'd ring up and go, Caroline, I'm a bit confused. I was like, yeah, I bet
Did you
you
say
are."
you sound it?
He sounds like he's from the young ones or the goodies or something.
yeah.
Look, everyone.
Coming through the door.
It was from Birmingham. Yeah. Yeah, theguardian.co.uk, the dailystar.co.uk, and pretty much all the Murdoch affiliates. So, this story involves a Karen.
Oh.
Not the type of Karen that we've come to recognise as a modern stereotype.
What's the
Just
other
moving my
one?
mouse. I'll get to her.
Oh.
In case you're not aware of the slang term and its meaning, here's what Wikipedia has to say on it. Karen is a pejorative term used as slang for a white woman perceived as entitled or demanding beyond the scope of what is normal. The term is often portrayed in memes depicting white women who use their white privilege to demand their own way. Depictions include demanding to speak to the manager, being racist, or wearing a particular bob cut hairstyle, which I take offence at because that's been my hairdo for like 30 years. But anyway, a notable
If the hat
example.
fits.
No, I disagree. It's not a bob. It's that the American one
It's a
has that
concave
part
bob.
fringe kind of thing with that bit there. It's horrendous.
bangs.
That's it, concave. You're right, but not
It's a concave
not like
bob.
yours.
Mine's a concave bob.
You've got a Cameron Diaz.
You do. Yes, you do
Yeah,
not
okay.
have a bloody Karen bob. Let's.
All right. Okay.
Bloody.
A notable example of a Karen was the Central Park birdwatching incident, of which I don't know what it is because it's Wikipedia, in 2020, or, and this is the bit I added, that Karen in Melbourne during COVID who said when challenged as to why she was out of her 5K radius, she'd walked all the walks in Brighton.
She was a Karen.
She certainly was.
Did the term Karen originate in America?
I think it did.
Did
I
it?
think it did, but it very quickly.
Because Karen of Brighton was
picked
my
up.
first Karen.
Really? Oh, no,
You
I've heard
never
of
forget your
Karens
first
before
Karen.
Oh, my kids were calling me a Karen there for a couple of maybe months or years. It seems
were
ridiculous.
they?
How very
When,
dare.
when, when, when,
How
when
are
that whole
they
thing.
still alive? Your love
cut
for
them
them
off
must be
years
so
ago.
Oh, don't
strong.
be such a. No, it's my love for them. It's just self-restraint. No, I think. But do you remember when it was a big thing during COVID? I think there was a massive thing. Everything was Karen. Oh, you're a Karen.
Yeah,
you're a
Karen
you're
at
a Karen.
Bunnings.
Yeah, Karen. Yes. So I think that was the kids were just hearing it a lot at school as well. Or
Yeah, right.
not at school in lockdown. It was everywhere. So
God.
Well, you're probably
I'd
right.
say anything, I'd be called a Karen.
I'm not sure racism makes a Karen.
It does. Yes, it does.
No, I think racism just makes a racist asshole.
Yeah.
No, but Karen's, it's all about, connected to white privilege and very much about being above other people.
But I agree with that, but I also think that so many of the original Karens were not the American Karen. No, they probably were, but the American, just a bit low rent nearly, like, they're more those people who have an opinion on everything and go into a shop and complain about everything. The shop might be
Trump
Walmart,
followers.
for God's sake. Correct.
Yeah.
They might
but
be
also
Walmart,
react really poorly.
Your Karen from Brighton was a bit
really
highbrow.
poorly. Yeah,
like
she was
Harrison.
highbrow.
She was a highbrow Karen. That's not
But
what
the
I think
Karen
of when I
in
think of Karen.
Bunnings was foul.
Yeah.
But I think
What was the Karen at Bunnings? I don't remember.
Anti-vaxxer or something.
she went off at someone because she wouldn't wear a mask, I think.
Oh, and she had her sovereign rights, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
She gets a piece of
she's
paper,
pushing a
yeah.
trolley, and the woman, so she had a trolley distance between her and the woman that called her a Karen. She
Yeah.
turned around, she goes, "Can you keep your distance?" And she goes, "There's a trolley in front of me, darling. I'm pushing a trolley. There's your meter. It's not metre and a half, it's a metre."
Yeah.
A trolley meter.
Yeah, but you don't have your mask on.
No, but I think Karen didn't wear a mask.
I think Karen would have been the anti-masker.
Yeah, she wasn't. She just didn't believe that she needed to wear a mask. Probably because COVID wouldn't infect her.
This goes on to say, terms considered pejorative, blah, blah, I believe it's sexist, ageist, classist, against women this is, and used to control women's behaviour. As of
That
2020...
Karen is. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
calling someone a Karen is basically to put them down so they'll shut up.
Well, Swanee, how do you feel? Because you aren't a Karen and you were getting called one. So
I was only by
perhaps
my
that's
kids.
true.
I could say whatever they like. They'd say
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Because they know how much I would hate it. They did it to,
Yeah, right.
Why
wind
not?
me up. I don't.
They used it as a pejorative term, that's
correct.
right.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know that they think that I
To
truly
control
was
your
a Karen.
behaviour.
Oh,
No, but I think it is a legitimate term for certain people. It just isn't one that should be as widely used as it is. But that's
yeah.
the
I think it
nature
is.
of
I think it's
things.
misused a lot too. I think it became. I was aware of it before it became very mainstream, so I used to kind of get it, but then it became so popular that it was just used for lots of different things. And that's
I'd also
getting
think
used.
that certainly in my circles, most of the people using the term Karen were women, not
Karens.
men.
I can tell you that it's also been applied to male behaviour.
Yeah.
Oh.
And The Guardian called 2020 the year of Karen. So back to your point
That
about
COVID was
the
big.
COVID,
Yeah, it's
the COVID
I'd go with
rising.
that. Yeah.
COVID rising.
Yeah,
COVID rising.
I like that.
The uprising.
Is it like a trilogy? COVID rising.
Yeah. That's
There
the
was
second one. Yeah.
Based
Rising
on the
up.
lockdown.
Yeah, and I think it's probably exacerbated by the fact that people were locked
Oh
down,
my God.
were anxious.
Please
Yeah.
look
Well,
at that,
did have-
that fucking
did have-
haircut. That's the haircut. See, that's
That's
very
the Karen bub.
American, I think.
Yeah, right.
Felt cute, might speak to the manager later. Don't know.
Felt cute,
There's
might
one-
speak to the
Speak to the
manager
manager
later.
later.
Can't remember her name.
That's
It's
funny.
called can I speak to the manager haircut?
Yeah.
That's not the Australian Karen haircut
No.
at all.
No.
No, okay. Anyway, all of that's very interesting, but the Karen in our story does not have a concave bob.
Oh.
And while she may well be a bit racist for all we know, she also wasn't one for asking to speak to the manager. There isn't a lot known about Karen's early life because that's not the saucy and interesting bit, but she was born in 1976 in West Yorkshire. We only really get a sense of what Karen was like when social services started to monitor her after the birth of her first child in 1996.
I don't know that happened to me.
So
I don't know if I started getting monitored after my first child or my
I'm
second or
wondering
third. I don't know.
how
Does
soon
that happen?
after her first.
Fairly, quite soon.
Like, did they know that she was pregnant and go, we're going to have to monitor her the minute she
Here's
gives
one.
birth to that?
Here's
No,
one.
not so much. To be fair, they're in a pretty poor socioeconomic area, so it
That
was
doesn't
relatively
mean she's a
common, I
bad
think, to
child. Bad mother, I mean.
be bad mother.
Could be a bad
well-
child. We heard about that before. What was that little
think
Oompa Loompa's name who was 18?
Oh no,
Natalia? No,
What? Natalia. She was a bad child. Yeah,
she was
yeah,
a
yeah.
bad child.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know this is so inappropriate, but I think I saw an article the other day about that the lady who'd been adopted, who was like pretending to be a child.
Natalia. Yeah,
Natalia.
yeah.
But
That's what we're
there's
just
a new.
talking about.
I saw a man crying on a.
There's an update.
Yes, have you seen it?
Really?
I think the update was because the man was crying like the dad was crying in a crazy way, going, people are having a go at us, but she was a criminal. She was trying to kill us, and he hasn't really been out yet.
She butted her ciggy out. Remember, that was your comment from. She was like 4, having a diary out the back.
Yeah. She had to put it out, get a handbag, and go, pick me.
Right, I'm out of here.
Oh, Mummy, can
I have some vodka with my diary, Mum?
Oh, God.
Okay.
Sorry, Schmidty.
So anyway, going back to your point about whether or not being in a poor socioeconomic area and having a child was enough for social services to decide to watch her, and whether or not that meant that she was a bad mother, I think by the end of the story you might realise that social services probably have seen this before and were able to pick it.
Ah.
But so had she done something prior to?
She was just feral. So and she hung out with feral people, and it'll play out. So Karen was 20 when she had her first child, which is pretty good actually. She wasn't a pram-faced, so that's quite impressive. And early on there were concerns about her parenting and ability to look after children. Over the course of the next 12 years, Karen had 6 more children. To 5 or 6 different partners.
Is riddle me this: if you kill 6 people in 12 years, you're a serial killer. If you have 6 children in 12 years,
you're a serial baby maker.
Breeder.
Yeah,
you're the anti-serial killer. Like you're offsetting their bad behaviour.
Right.
Adding to the
it's
gen
like
pop.
carbon footprint. It's like carbon offsetting.
Killer neutral.
Serial killer
She
neutral.
probably goes, I only want to have 2, but oh my God, they've killed another one. All right, let's go and have a third one. Oh, far out, they've killed another one.
I don't think she was really worrying too much about having children. It seemed to be just something that she did regularly. They did try and suggest that she use contraceptive, etc., but she didn't seem terribly interested in that.
It's probably less sporadic than a serial killer too, isn't it? Like, it wasn't like, oh, we killed 3 in those 2 months.
She has to wait 9 months
as
one comes out.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps I should put my hand up for triplets.
She might be in Owies. Oh, yeah, she could do that. But she might go, oh, shit, I'm 3 behind. Come on, jump on.
Oh.
Her ability to look after the children was often in question. Oh, no, she jumps on a lot, so we'll just
Clearly.
get there. Her ability to look after the children was often in question, and on one occasion, Karen asked social services to take her second child, Shannon, into care for a bit to help her manage, though that didn't happen.
She asked child services too.
Yeah.
And they said, no, mate, you're doing a good job.
No, probably not. You're doing a good job. I don't think that was there. So her children were on a watch list. As social services were concerned for them, lots of people actually rang social services.
It does sound like a serial killer, doesn't it? You're on a watch list.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Their children are at risk, so we're going to keep an eye on her. And they did make lots of visits. As I said, they tried to suggest that she stop having more children. And how they go about that, they tried to suggest.
She gets spayed.
They tried to suggest that she clean up the house.
Look at being a shaped hand there, that crunch. I can't cope.
They wanted her to not hang around. She was hanging around with some people that they thought could pose a risk to the children.
Riddle me this: were they all to the same father?
No.
No. She had 5 or 6 different fathers. Keep up.
I heard that before.
How much did you drink in that last episode?
Oh,
anyway,
probably just got distracted.
The kids were on a watch list, including one that wasn't even born.
How can an unborn kid be on a watch list?
Well, because she is. So they're like, oh, she's pregnant again. Better keep an eye on that one too.
That's unfair to that kid. That's like, having priors when you're not even born. Like if the mum does a crime.
The child hasn't done anything wrong.
Yeah, that's right. The child's
it's a watch list for their welfare.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a welfare.
Not because they've done something wrong. Yeah,
they're watching her. They're watching her to make sure they're okay. So anyway, all of them actually though did get removed from the list before the crime in question takes place. An article on the dailymail.co.uk gave some further colour to the lifestyle Karen was living. Karen's standard day started when she woke the older children up so they could get ready and go off to school where they had their breakfast. Fond of the TV, she would turn it on first thing, though to be honest, so does Tony, as he hates silence and I can't stand the telly being on in the morning. But anyway, I particularly hate morning TV shows and news shows that just loop the stories over and over again.
Yeah.
And yes, that is you, ABC. Anyway,
and every other channel.
ABC irritates me the most with that. She'd then hang out with her partner, Craig Meehan, who was 10 years her junior, and watch him play on his Xbox. before
Hot.
watching her favourite TV show, The Jeremy Kyle
It
Show.
must be
Hot.
love. Hot love.
Oh, I thought this is like a bit of a socioeconomic commentary on.
We're going to all be Karens in this episode because we're all
God.
going to feel like we're highbrow.
Oh, no, exactly. I feel very judgy at this
So,
point.
yes, well, go right ahead.
Go and put
You
your
can judge
judgy
away.
pants on and you feel comfortable.
Don't worry, the rest of the world judges this situation. So her favourite TV show was the Jeremy Kyle Show. Do you remember that, Swanee?
Very well.
Is that like the
Yes,
Jerry
boys.
Springer show or
Yeah,
something?
the
Yes.
English
Yeah,
version.
right.
Like
kind
an English
of,
version
yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
And as I've noted, probably made her feel right at home as she could have been a contestant on it. Then she would change the baby's nappy. I bothered to look up at what time Jeremy Kyle's show was on.
Yeah.
And it was on at 9:25 a.m. So if that's her normal day,
So
you think
she
the
waits
baby's
till
nappy
that's
would come
finished?
first.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if it was an hour or half an hour, but let's say
Let's say
between 10
10.
and 10:30, she gets around to changing the baby's nappy.
From the night before.
Yes, I assume so.
She's quality, is she?
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, if she
Is
at
it,
least
though?
put the nappy, if she at least put the nappy in the bin, that'd be good. Unlike some people referenced in our hoarders
I was
Oh,
gonna
I
episode.
was thinking the same
Yeah.
thing.
No, I know what you mean.
After that, she'd check out eBay. And back in the day, because this was in 2008, a lot of this took
Right,
place.
okay, yeah, real thing.
I tell you what, eBay was awesome.
Yeah.
It was. You could get lots of really good stuff. I got some awesome secondhand things on eBay.
Dildos.
Anyway, then No, fur coats and silverware, all sorts of nice things. Anyway, then she'd watch more telly, play some Xbox herself, and if the mood took her, she'd clean up, which wasn't evident,
Yeah,
so I don't think the
unlikely.
mood took her very often. Yeah. The house was filthy, with punch holes in several doors and a garden piled high with garbage.
How nice is it to have punch holes in several doors to really
I
make you feel
know.
good about yourself?
Well, maybe they just needed some more breeze, and so they thought just give some ventilation through all these doors.
I reckon it was the game up when he didn't have a good game. He just punched a hole in the door.
Jesus.
It could have been, yeah.
Jesus.
These people keep going.
Anyway.
I'm excited with this.
Brace yourself.
Apparently, it wasn't that out of the ordinary for the area, though. So
Yeah.
it was very common. Also, pretty common was the fact that she was in debt and she spent all of her benefit money on grog and darts. And that's kind of the lifestyle going on around her too.
What else would she spend it
Not
on?
everyone, but
Oh, probably
I know,
on some
food.
nappies.
Food for the
electricity.
kids.
She,
Yeah.
must, she must have,
Formula.
she must
Yeah.
have. Did she change the nappies once a
she
day?
didn't have to buy food for the kids because she sent them off to school
got
to
food
have
at school.
breakfast.
Used to feed them at
Yeah.
the English school.
to Jamie Oliver's school.
Well, that's probably how poor the area is.
Was it just not private schools or is it all schools?
Oh no, it's all schools, but schools like that in probably
Wow.
a little area that's a bit doing it tough.
They do breakfast,
they'll try and
lunch, and
feed them
probably
more so they get
afternoon.
fed it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her ex-partners described her as lazy and selfish.
No.
But she's pretty good in bed. She all those kids.
Or she'll at least lie
She's
still.
hot stuff. Yeah.
Knees up Martha Brown.
She won't cry rape if you jump on board.
She's a root rat.
She's a rude rat.
She is a root rat. Yeah, she's a root rat.
Oh.
The father of her first child said she abandoned her 2-week-old baby after a fight about darts. I'd taken our stereo into the pawn shop to sell it so we could buy essentials for the baby. Nappies and milk. Mr. Breton, who was her father of her first child, Mr. Breton recalled, but typically Karen just wanted cash for cigarettes. She demanded that I go in and get £15 for it, but when I came out with just a tenner, she absolutely hit the roof. She was stood there screaming and bawling how she needed the extra $5 for smokes. Then she just turned her back and went AWOL for days. Have you got $7 for cigarettes for me?
Cigarette Karen.
Is she Vicky Pollard?
Vicky Pollard. She could
Well,
be
yeah,
Vicky
Vicky
Pollard.
Pollard. I think Vicky Pollard's from Bristol, but yes.
With a
same sort of
6-seater
idea.
pram.
Yeah. Similar idea. So he also described his Karen as a slob with a violent temper who would hit him with pans and chairs and use appalling language.
She would hit him with pans and chairs.
Allegedly,
Shake
that's what he
hands?
said.
I do.
Even.
I take all this stuff and I take it on board, but I guarantee you he would not have been father of the year.
I was thinking, I was
can
wondering
imagine.
that.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
sorry, but I have looked at all these gentlemen and
They're
if only
all
I had
upstanding
met
humans.
them.
Oh.
Yes. No, I'm taking the piss. Yes, you're right. You're right.
Mother 1 was nowhere near as good as Mother 5.
Well, there are, yes, in some cases there are children to other relationships too. But anyway, they were on and off in terms of their relationship. And then they were really off when he came home one day to find a strange man in the house. Karen said, "It's over between us. I've got someone new, so get lost."
There's a song about that.
He would
I
occasionally
found
visit.
someone new. He's waiting in the car outside. Oh, honey, how could you do it? We swore each other everlasting love.
Cindy.
well, yeah, I know. Where we get?
Do you know that
This
song?
guy wasn't waiting in the car outside.
just
He
the way I
was
sing
already
it.
moved in by the sound of it. No, I don't know
What
it.
song was
Money.
Cindy Lauper.
Money changes everything.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. I do know that. It is just the way you sing it.
I feel so confused. I don't even know if I know it.
I
Yeah.
would never recognise that. Okay.
That pitch you had just then was amazing.
Yeah, I thought I nailed it.
Okay, so Mr. Father of the Year would occasionally visit to see his son and said Karen never cooked her children a meal. She drank large amounts of
Oh,
alcohol.
thank God you ended that with a meal.
No, she never cooked her children.
Karen never cooked her children. Well, she's doing well there.
But where are we going now?
No.
We've got very low standards on Trial by Light.
Yeah.
Oh, look, she never cooked them. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's looking after them.
And she smoked 60 darts a day when pregnant.
Oh.
It's probably cut back a bit. She was probably up to 90 while she wasn't pregnant.
Jesus.
One to be healthy. Anyway, he said Karen just goes from one bloke to the next, uses them to have a kid, grabs all the child benefit and moves on. I was her first victim. Her next two children were to a man called Leon Rose, who was with Karen for 2 years, in which time she gave birth to Shannon and Ian. Ian and Shannon. Ian went to live with his father, Leon, after they split up, and Shannon stayed with Karen. However, apparently Shannon at some point wrote on her bedroom wall, "I want to live with my dad," which may give you an indication as how she was feeling about her mother's parenting skills.
She wrote it on her bedroom wall. I'm not sure that's good.
Well, I don't think that. Oh, who knows what was
No,
going
I
on in that
get-
house? It
yeah,
was a cry for help. It was a cry for help. Anyway, Karen then
Rick
hooked
Astley.
Paul Hooker.
She hooked Paul Hooker, yeah.
I know, I wrote that.
I know.
I did it myself.
I know, very good.
And they had Daniel together. Things didn't go swimmingly, though, and Paul said, "The day I left Karen, she screamed at me to take my son with me. She doesn't care about her kids. She's more interested in men." Her next lover/father, William Marshall, was also told to take their baby daughter Kelly with him. Now living with a new partner and their two children, and 6-year-old Kelly, Mr. Marshall said, "Before I took her in, the neighbours used to look after Kelly." Now back to your point, Swanee,
Took her
about
in.
Father of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Before I took her in, yeah.
Before I took responsibility for my
My
own
own
child.
child, yeah.
Yeah, anyway. And here he goes on to say, "I was forced to go around there every day to change her nappy and give her bottle." Karen knew
How was
I
he
was-
forced?
Because no one else would do it, so he
no
had
one
no
else
option.
would do it.
But if he
So,
wasn't
yeah.
there,
He had
how
to-
would he know?
Well, he went there every day because otherwise the kid wouldn't have got
He
fed.
went there by
Yeah.
choice because he wanted to be a father.
Well,
You
no.
know, forced is like, I got abducted, I had a gun to my head.
I don't know that he wanted. I don't know if that's the right word. He just felt, look, as he had to because no one else was going to.
Correct. Karen knew I was only visiting to see my daughter and she wanted more. She
Oh,
said to
no,
me one day,
don't say it.
Oh, can I
No,
jump
no,
on?
it's all right.
Sexy lady.
"If you don't want to make a go of it, you better take your daughter with you when you leave or I'll throw her out on the doorstep."
Oh,
I took Kelly with me that day.
smart man.
Took her in. Anyway, in January 2003, a year after Kelly's birth, another boy was born. But the father's identity, which is not on his birth certificate, has never been publicly confirmed. There were other men who found Karen Matthews irresistible. Eddie Clayton, 67, said he was her lover for 3 months.
Hang
and brought her
on,
in-
Eddie Clayton, 67.
67.
Yes. Eddie Clayton, 67, said he was her lover for 3 months and bought her an engagement ring from Argos for £36.99.
I miss Argos.
Quality.
The 3 times married father of 6
Oh,
said,
for
3 times married, father of 6, right? Yep.
Oh,
was
this is
flattered.
wrong. Make it stop.
"I was flattered she made me feel young again."
I bet she did.
But he had to tell his young lover to take it easy because he suffered from asthma and angina. And then that
Come
relationship
on.
finished when she caught up with an old ex-boyfriend behind his back.
Swanee, are you plotting this out on a whiteboard?
Yes, she's a root rat. Oh, we'll get to the
I was,
whiteboard
because
in a
normally
minute.
all I wrote was Karen in Yorkshire in 1976. That's what
And
I
then
got.
you just
I've been
got
listening to the
fascinated
baby.
and you
There are too many babies to map them out.
Then she moved on to Craig Meehan when he was 18 and she was 28, who she stayed with for 4 years before
You just
the
broke
crime.
up a bit. How old was she? Sorry, he was 18. She was.
He was 18, she was 28. She's 10 years older.
Okay, 28. Right.
And she stayed they were together for 4 years before the crime, and he thought he was the father of her youngest child. Now, I don't know about you, but I have no idea if I've covered all the kids. There are too many to count.
I'm glad you said that because I couldn't
I think
know
I
that.
know the name Craig
And they're
Meehan.
not all named either, so I couldn't find
What
all
do you
their
mean
names.
they're not all named? You
In
don't
the
know
press.
all their names, or they
In
don't
the
all
press.
have? Oh, sorry, named
They've
in
all
the
got
press.
names.
Yeah,
They're not
right.
named in the press because some of them are protected.
Vacuum.
Okay.
Come here.
You're Route 7 and you're Route 43. I don't know who the dad was.
And you're a very bad route.
Route 43, that sounds like a road somewhere. Anyway,
Well,
It is.
it's a road to nowhere, fellas.
Route
It's a road to
66.
nowhere.
I'm on the road.
That's what I was thinking of,
to
yeah.
get your kicks on Route
nowhere.
66.
Now we have the background. What's the crime? What happened? On February the 19th, 2008, Shannon Matthews, who was 9 at the time, Karen's second child, went to a swimming lesson in Dewsbury. Her school friend Megan said, "That afternoon we were going to the swimming baths with schoolers, and as usual, me and Shannon paired up together straight away. When that was over, we got on the coach back together. Once we got off the coach, something didn't seem right because her mum told her brother was picking her up that day after school, but he never showed up. Because normally if, she sends one of the kids to pick Shannon up from school, they'd be waiting outside the gates before we even got there. But no one was there. That was literally like the last time I saw her."
Do you need to put all those likes in? Is it just because you want to add
It's a
quote
quote.
directly? Yeah.
I was quoting Megan.
Like-
yeah. Or Megan, however they want to say it.
Megan.
Karen rang 999 and reported Shannon missing, and a huge investigation was launched. Now, whilst there's no real connection between a crime that took place in May 2007, which dominated the headlines and is still unsolved, the circumstances of that crime and subsequent reaction by the police and investigators did put Shannon's disappearance in the limelight. Where the May 2007 case was the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, the 3-year-old
Never
daughter
heard
of
of it.
two posh folk holidaying in Portugal that gripped the nation and filled the headlines,
Yeah.
Shannon was the harsh but true
Yeah.
poor child of
Correct.
a benefit scrounger.
Yeah.
This meant that there was a lot of pressure on the police and
Hang on,
investigators
Shannon
to
was
respond.
9 though too, wasn't she? Not
Yeah,
very-
but she was a kidnapped child, as far as they were aware. And
the time.
because,
Was she though? I feel like she
because-
wasn't.
The point was because she was kidnapped.
Okay.
The reason that it put so much pressure on the police is because there was a question that they wouldn't do as much because she did come from a
Yeah.
poor socioeconomic community.
Because they were Karens.
Yeah.
Because the police were Karens. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So they threw everything they had at it. They certainly did not undercook this investigation.
Right.
So in short, the investigation and search for Shannon would cost £3.2 million.
Wow. That's a
How
lot,
much?
isn't it?
3.2 million
Okay.
squid. Yeah.
What do you get for that in terms of a search?
I'm glad you asked.
Thank you.
Wow.
In the early days of the
You are
investigation,
prepared. That's impressive.
the police had to ascertain, and this goes back to your whiteboard comment, the police had to ascertain who the family and known associates of Karen, Craig and the family were. This was pretty complex given the 5 or 6 fathers to her 7 children
Could you-
and all their families.
Can we get a bigger wall? Yeah.
Where normally a family tree would fit on one sheet of A4 paper, this one spanned the entire wall of the incident room and everyone on that list had to be interviewed. And I've seen it in a documentary and I'm talking, I think the size is AO. It's like 2 A3s
AO?
together or A6.
Yeah.
A6 is little. I think it's called AO. It's really big.
Yeah.
You know, you
Like
use it
poster
for-
size, isn't it?
Poster size, yes. So they had at least 8 of these poster size things on the wall with all of these different people and all of their known associates and family trees, and they had to interview all of them.
Exhausting.
They also assumed a series of routes that Shannon could have taken to walk the half-mile home and undertook a search of every house on those routes over the ensuing days.
Oh, they just put a torch in, had a look, didn't knock.
No, they didn't. They
I
didn't
won't
spend
knock.
6 minutes.
No, yeah.
They went through, I
Everybody,
think it's
yeah.
something like 1,700 homes.
Wow. That's a lot.
So Karen was interviewed, obviously, mostly to give the police any information she could about Shannon, where she could have gone, who her friends were, what her habits were. They also then put a police family liaison officer with Karen and Craig, and it wasn't very long before that officer asked for a second officer to come in as well, because they fairly quickly decided that the behaviour was a bit weird of Karen and Craig. She seemed exceptionally calm for a person whose child was missing. And although she definitely turned on the waterworks for the police in interviews, maintaining she had no idea where Shannon was and that she wouldn't have run away because she was so happy at home, and some cock and bull story about how once someone had run away and it had upset her so much that Shannon knew that it upset her, so she would never do that. She kept making this point that she'll never run away. So that's not what's happened here. And she was really happy with her loving family. But when she was back at home and not really realising, because she's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, our Karen, but she didn't realise the police family liaison officers were watching her behaviour. They're not just there to make your tea and biscuits. They're also there to observe whether or not any of you are complicit in the crime.
Good to know. I'll keep that in mind.
I was just going to say, you should keep that in mind for just in cases. Yeah. So she just continues playing the Xbox with Craig and weirdly watching him play, which I find more disturbing, and tuning into Jeremy Kyle. Of course, the house was still a mess, and so they sort of noted the living situation. One of the liaison officers recalled that her phone rang, and she had a ringtone of a song on it. And do you remember those polyphonic ringtones that were all the rage back in the day? Yeah. I had the Sex and the City soundtrack on mine, remember, Swanee? Karen hears this ringtone, jumps up and says, "Oh, I love that song," and starts dancing around the living room to this ringtone.
While her phone's ringing.
What a pikey.
What a
pikey.
Is it you're a pikey?
You're not allowed to say that anymore, are you?
We're not allowed to say that, no.
Why is that?
Why
Is
not?
that offensive to? It's offensive
Who's
to
offended
Irish
by that?
I think
travellers.
it's a pejorative term for the travelling community, yes.
Well, don't put that in.
Hang
Yeah,
Sorry.
cut that out.
We're going to be
Sorry.
pikeys soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think you can say that anymore. I apologise. I used to call my friend. I've got a girlfriend who's surname Pike, call it Pikey for years. I love it. I always use Pikey.
I know Pikey. We
Why
worked
do people get offended by being travelling
What am I
community?
thinking? But I used to use Pikey a lot in the UK. So I
pejorative.
didn't.
It's
Grey nomad?
I don't think it's a compliment.
Yes,
It reminds me of that movie. Was it Lock, Stock and Two Smoking? What was it?
Yeah.
Would you
no.
like a dog?
That sort of
Would you like a dog?
Yeah.
Would you like a dog?
What
That
was
was
that
Pikey's.
with Brad Pitt?
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
Snatch.
Lock, Stock,
Snatch.
Snatch. That's it, yeah. You
Lock, stock, and
One
two
where
pikey.
smoking barrels before
the
that,
dog
wasn't it?
eats the diamond or something, and would you like a dog? Yes, that's the one. I don't know why Brad Pitt keeps trying to give people a dog, but he does.
Yeah.
All right, enough about the travelling community of Ireland.
Sorry.
Now, where was I? Oh, yes.
The
She's
pikey
dancing to
comment.
her.
So she's
no,
dancing
Stop
around
it.
the room to this song. It just didn't track for a mother that should have been out of her head with worry. They were like, this is so...
Oh, I love
Out of her
this
head.
song.
With, yeah.
It's exactly, I love this
It reminds
song.
me of my missing daughter.
Sit down, Karen.
Get
Out
out
of
of
my
the
way.
way.
I know, I feel it. Yes, exactly. Sit down, Karen. Could you cry a bit more? So, of course, the community, though, they rallied, which apparently some said was quite unusual because, we've kind of already covered
Because they're
that
all
it's not-
busy gaming.
Well, I think they normally keep to themselves. Let's put it
Oh,
that
sorry.
way. They don't-
My mistake.
When they're not
But
at
on
the
this,
club.
on this occasion, they all came out, and even before the police had even established a team, there were people showing up, going out, trying to find Shannon.
Oh, that's nice.
Like everyone was, really involved.
Good.
The police and hundreds of volunteers searched the surrounding areas in freezing conditions. I think we've all seen the sort of images of the hunt, where you've got lines of high-vis geared
Yeah,
up
yeah.
police searching in
scary.
Schmidty, sorry, can I
Yeah.
just interrupt? Because I'm wondering, it sounds like, to your point about the £3.2 million, it sounds like the police did do their job, but perhaps the
they did.
media were the ones who didn't give Shannon the coverage that they gave
Oh, no,
Maddie.
you're jumping the gun, my friend.
Oh, gosh, sorry.
300 police were put on the case in the end,
Wow.
interviewing everyone and checking homes of family, local houses, parks and fields. The police also brought in a murder squad, and we know that
Hang on a
statistically the
minute.
longer...
I'm doing the math. If 300 police did 1,700 homes, that's like 6 homes each.
Then they wouldn't
They
always
weren't
do the
all
same
doing
role.
that.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. Some were actually like looking in ponds and,
Yeah,
many?
that's the whole
land
task
search.
force, the
How-
whole.
how many?
And
There'd be
and
people
they-
in like offices. There'd be people everywhere. And, you know,
3,000 is
also-
a lot, isn't it?
There were 1,000.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I get onto it, but you're killing me. They did 1,000 interviews. They spoke to about 3,000 people. Like, calm down on picking up. The police did their
Clarky
job.
wants to cut down on. Oh, sorry, I can't even say the
Stop
word.
doing
The
math,
breakdown. He wants to break
wants to
down.
break
We
down.
want to split what each of them was doing and
Oh,
when.
one voice.
I want to see their
Billable hours.
timesheets.
Yeah.
By roll,
Because
by
I reckon they've gone, you need to go and knock on houses for the next week. And they've gone, and that's enough. Let's go and have
No.
some darts and
Let
play
Carla do the
let's
math.
do some gaming.
math.
No, the police were not the same as Karen and Craig.
Well,
Anyway, what I was going to say on a more sobering note was that we know that statistically, the longer a person is missing, the lower the chances of them being found alive are. And the police were acutely aware of that. So the media went nuts, as we might expect, and the quiet Dewsbury Street Shannon lived on became a media frenzy. Karen complained to the police liaison officers about the media in the street, and she didn't like also being compared to the McCanns.
guilty.
Well, she just thought that they were, hassling her a bit. And also she wasn't very happy with the way they were covering the story because, we're not like the McCanns.
I'm not very happy with the way she's behaving in this story.
She then accused the police of not doing enough to find Shannon. And I'd like to point out at this point in time, over 500 police and volunteers were out looking for Shannon while Karen and Craig played on the Xbox.
No.
They never went looking
I reckon she's the Xbox. And too many people have been playing her Xbox.
Do you know what? I saw this thing when I was watching these documentaries yesterday about a man who'd lost his son, and he would not stop looking. And you just wouldn't. You would.
That's right.
It's not like you're out, let alone being on the Xbox, but you wouldn't be able to rest. You wouldn't be able to do anything. Your mind, you just got to be on it.
And the dying wish is please find them or whatever. It just doesn't leave you.
No.
Absolutely. So that's exactly why the police liaison officers were like, something is definitely off here. So for someone who hated the media coverage, she was seen twitching the curtains at her house. Do you know what I mean by that, boys?
Yeah.
Totally. Gladys Kravis. It's me. It's my nickname here. Yep. Curtain
Looking
twitcher.
down at the TV in the lounge room where the live footage of her was playing with the, where the live footage of her was broadcast playing with the net curtains.
What to see if it
So
was...
she's looking at herself.
Like you do that when you're in the thing in the
God's
supermarket
sakes.
going,
She's then laughing and smiling
It's
and
a
joking
worldwide
with the
privacy
liaison
tour.
officers. And at this point, of course, the liaison officer was like, what is going on with her? So finally, what date did I say the young lass went? Was it the 19th of
young
February?
lass. I don't know, Pop. What did you say? My dad looked
Yeah,
like Pop.
the
What was it?
19th of February. So on the 20th of February, so a day after.
What year?
2008. I've got it.
Yeah.
It's 19th of February.
Yeah.
So the day after that, I thought it was later. That's why I'm a little surprised. But Karen faces the media and she goes out appealing for Shannon to come back. And she says, I love you so much. Your brothers and sisters love you so much. Your dad loves you. He's even out there looking for you. And at the time, I thought that was weird because Craig hadn't got anywhere. But then I remembered her actual dad, and her actual dad was out there looking for her. And then she asked if anyone, she says, if anyone has her, bring her back, come back to me, all that stuff. Of course, and she's crying, and it's all very believable. And the community were concerned that there was a kidnapper amongst them, so they're all keeping their kids at home and getting paranoid. And they also raised money for a reward, which quickly topped £50,000.
Wow.
Local businesses took food to the family and one offered for Karen and Craig to do a week shopping on them.
She's living her best life right now, isn't she?
Yep, she
Can I get
sure
some
is.
darts?
Let's give me some darts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite. Karen and Craig went down to this shop and not only filled a shopping trolley with food, but a second trolley with booze. Again,
I
there were
must say
questions.
that's smart.
Yeah. Well, I said, again, there were questions on priorities, but Karen was a big drinker and it was a stressful time. Notably, Karen, she had not gone out looking for her daughter. And given how odd things were, Karen was interviewed again by the police because they're like, and she cried a lot and she didn't really give any info, just saying that Shannon.
When you
wouldn't
say
have
she
run
cried,
away.
did she go,
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. She kept saying to the police and friends that Shannon was out there in a nice, warm environment, safe and sound, and that someone who knew Karen most likely had her. And she said that on
Really?
multiple occasions.
Would
yes.
anyone say that if their kid's missing? No one tries to comfort the rest of the world.
Well, I think at this point in time, everything has blown up a little bit more epically than she
thought
could
it would,
ever
yeah.
have thought it would,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And I think there's a suggestion that when she's saying this, that it's her way of trying to say,
Calm the farm. Yeah. It's not
I'm
as bad
sure
as what
she's
you
fine.
think it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen her attend a vigil, I think it is, in a documentary on YouTube, and it is quite weird. There's a crowd singing, "He's got the whole world in his hands," and then they go, "He's got Shannon and her family in his hands. He's got Shannon and her family." But so there's
That's
some
wrong,
guy
isn't it?
who sound a lot like Paul O'Grady. I had to look twice. He's got the same accent and everything, same area from, but it wasn't him. Anyway, so I'm looking at Karen. I don't think it was. Looking at Karen and Craig's like, "Let's go up the hallway," singing it. Karen at this point looks like a deer in the headlights, and her mouth. It's when she's not smoking. There's plenty of other footage of her smoking. Don't worry, but at this point she's not. But what's interesting about it is she's. When someone doesn't know the lyrics to something,
Yes.
and they just sort of go,
Yeah.
like fish mouth.
Yeah.
She's doing that. And they've already sung the lyrics
Tony
5
Abbott.
times at this point. It's not hard. And she's just going, and you could see it's gotten
Stop.
way
Particularly when it
bigger.
gets to Shannon's name. Oh, what's that kid's name again?
Oh, yeah, I
What
can't
are we
remember.
here for? What am I singing for?
So a week after Shannon disappeared, police released CCTV footage of her when she left the swimming pool and then the school. Yeah.
Yep.
Karen stayed in front of the cameras, continuing to say that she thought Shannon was fine and with someone she knew, which some people were like,
After a
well, it does
week.
make
No one would do that.
But they also said, oh, look, in some ways it could have made sense because Shannon was very shy and quiet, and there's no way she would have gone off with a stranger. So they did think, well, maybe she is with someone who
No,
knows
they
her,
didn't.
right? Well,
No.
So
I'm calling no.
rather grimly, 16 body dogs were drafted to search for Shannon.
Is that like cadaver dogs?
Yes, but you don't call them that anymore.
Oh, really?
I think they're called body dogs.
Is that like because you can't call them pikey dogs?
Yeah, that's right. Because they're travelling dogs, not
That's right.
the Irish
I
travelling
don't know who
dogs.
owns them.
Who finds
I think you can call them
what do
travelling
cadaver?
dogs.
Sorry, I can't even say the word. Do
Cadaver dogs.
do they find it offensive? Do they?
The reason you
cadavers
don't
or
say
the
that,
The cadavers. No, the cadavers.
No, the
Who's
reason you
finding
don't-
offence with that?
can you shush and I'll tell you?
Yes.
The reason we don't call them cadaver dogs is because when you stood next to the family and you say, "I'll just got to get the cadaver dog in,"
All right.
it immediately implies that their
Dead
family
body.
member is dead.
Do they
Someone's
now-
looking for a dead
we're
body.
now looking
Do
for
they
a body.
smell out alive people?
Yeah, they smell both. So they call them body dogs now. Yeah.
Body dogs. Body
Well,
dogs.
usually you're
That's
looking for a
confusing
person.
Okay, I
term.
thought you said I couldn't body.
Either
not
living
body,
or
body.
dead. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
I was in the shower the other day and I was thinking about little
Cadaver
Phil.
dogs?
No, I was thinking about little Phil, their story we did the other day.
Little Phil, yeah.
Yeah, and-
you
and I
weren't a
was
fan of
thinking
him. Was he
No,
pissing you off
and
in
I-
the shower? You getting angry?
And the smiling buildings.
I can't remember what my train of thought was that made me
Oh,
think
sorry.
of it.
You're in the shower thinking about little Phil.
Oh, no.
Thinking about, and then I
Long
started
shower,
thinking
was
about
it?
black leotard, right? The whole body leotard. And then I was thinking about,
You're in the shower thinking about
and
that.
then I thought, then it reminded, well, I was
This is
just
going
thinking,
nowhere fast, Schmidty.
I must have been thinking about
Abort,
that show that we
abort.
did. No, shut up and let me finish, and then I will be done, right? So I was thinking about that show, and then I was thinking about little Phil and his leotard, and it reminded me of Rowan Atkinson when he was in not the 9 o'clock news, and he used to play this character, an artist, and he'd say, "My body is my tool," and I thought, I can't believe that I missed the opportunity
To slip that
to
in.
do that in the Little Phil episode.
So you went downstairs and you
My
re-edited?
tool.
You went and
I'll cut this out of this and I'll
put
slide it
up.
back in. I haven't done Little Phil yet. Or have I? I can't remember. I don't think I
Oh,
have.
that hurt my cheek.
sorry about
Schmidty, can you riddle me this? Are they talking about changing body dogs to tool dogs then?
I don't think so, but I'll be all right with that. I think it's funny. My body is my tool. Okay.
I think little Phil in a leotard was funnier.
Yeah,
Thinking
well-
about that in the shower.
I don't even know why it was in a shower. It was all a bit weird. Anyway, So they bring out the dogs, and that's a lot. By the way, that's a lot of dogs because there were less than 30 in the whole of the UK at the time. So they brought 16 out. So they clearly thought at this point that they were looking for a body and no longer a living child. Rumours were flying because it's a small town anyway. And the boyfriend Craig was put in the spotlight. And some said he was a bit abusive, having hit Shannon. He says, no, denied it. We used to roughhouse a bit, but I saw her as my daughter, so I would never hurt her. Then the community started to question pretty much everything. And, of course, tips were coming in thick and fast, given Shannon hadn't turned up yet.
There's nothing like a little bit of overzealous policing from the community, though, is there?
Well, on this occasion, it was quite useful.
They start to turn on them, when they're not like what they say.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Yeah.
Because one name that came up, which was a courtesy actually of a member of Karen's family, who says that they told the police earlier on but they didn't listen, or they probably just had too much to go on. Anyway, it was this bloke who hadn't been on the radar, and his name was Michael Donovan. And he was, in fact, Craig Meehan's uncle, Craig being the partner at the time.
The gamer.
So Michael, the gamer, yeah. Michael hadn't helped in the search at all. When most of the extended family were out looking for Shannon, except Craig and Karen, of course, they were busy on the Xbox and downing the free booze. That family tree I spoke of earlier, interestingly, most of that had come from Karen, as in the information had come from Karen. Also, much of the progeny had come from Karen, but just the info.
As opposed to everyone else who'd come in, Karen. Too far?
And she had named all of her exes and their families, but she'd left Michael, uncle to her current boyfriend, out. So they don't know whether that was done on purpose or just an accident. By March 13, so now we're looking at 24 days. By March 13, the police had searched, I read 3,000 homes, taken 1,000 statements. Here's your numbers for you, Paul. Interviewed over 200 people, but not Michael Donovan.
So that's what 3.2 gets you.
That's what 3.2 buys you, yeah. And a lot of, walking around and looking in under trees and stuff. With no leads to go on, they decided to have a little dig around to see what Mr. Donovan had been up to. And lo and behold, they discovered that 15 months prior to Shannon's disappearance, Michael had, wait for it, kidnapped his own daughter from her foster carers.
Oh, my Lord.
And apparently they had been fostered out after it was alleged that he'd forced them to watch him have sex with 2 escorts. And I don't mean the old Ford Escort cars.
No.
Anyway.
Oh, that's a relief.
Yeah,
come on, Boots, out she comes. Get a load of this. Oh, God. Put it away, Dad.
Yeah. Right, I've got to drive in that later.
So unsurprisingly, having discovered this, they went straight over to Michael's house. There appeared to be no one home, but a neighbour said they'd heard a toddler's footsteps in the house, even when he wasn't there, as in when Michael wasn't at home. And that was enough for the police to smash in the door and raid the house. There was no one there, or so they thought. As they moved through the house, one of the officers heard a girl's voice say, "Stop it, you're frightening me now," and opened the bedroom door. There was no sign of anyone, but then he saw Shannon's head stick out from under the bed, and he went over, he grabbed Shannon, he pulled her out.
By the hair.
So she's just under a bed.
In case she got away.
She wasn't just under a bed. You know, a divan bed that's basically a wooden frame covered by fabric.
Oh, yeah.
She was inside the divan base.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So it was pretty crude, but...
It doesn't have drawers in it, does it?
No. This one was just one of those empty void ones.
All right,
And so it's just like really a timber frame with fabric around it, and he'd cut a hole which you could get in and you could sit really quietly, and because the fabric just hangs down, and if you're not looking, you wouldn't notice it. It was only because she sort of moved that the policeman saw her. And I tell you what, the police were they couldn't believe they found her alive. They were flabbergasted and elated. The detectives just...
How many days had it been?
24.
Whoa, that's a lot.
So they were all walking around thinking we're looking for a body, right?
Yeah.
And, yes, it is a very long time. So they were over the moon. They got her out of their toot suite. They took her out and they had her checked over, and then someone actually thought to ask her where Michael was, and Shannon told him he was under the bed where she had been. So
back they went.
They'd grabbed her and they hadn't even thought to look for him, but that's all right.
I can understand that in the initial moment. I can understand that if she'd come out, they would have assumed she was there on her own.
Please don't tell me they went out and locked the front door and took
he
her
wasn't
away.
sexually abusing her. It's all right.
Okay, phew.
No. So, well, as far as I'm aware, there's no allegations of that in any of this.
Do you need some?
But he was, no. So he'd stayed under the bed and he was lying there really, really quietly hoping that they'd go away and not realise that he was there. But the police came back in and they extricated him, literally kicking and screaming. He made a big fuss.
Having a tantrum.
Yeah, a little bit. On a further search of the house, they found a rubber leash that was used to restrain Shannon, which stopped her from being able to get to the front door. So it was actually hanging off a joist in the loft, and it was a long thing, and it was almost like a noose that went around her waist, and she couldn't. I don't know why she couldn't get out of it.
Like a dog run kind of thing.
Kind of thing, yeah. So she was on a kind of a run. And they also, though, had been drugging her. So she was being given prescription drugs to keep her drowsy. And then there was a list of rules that included you must not make any noise or bang your feet. You must not go near the windows. You must not get anything or do anything without me being here. I love it.
Bean.
B-double-E-N.
Oh, no.
Method.
Keep the TV volume low, only up to 8 or lower. So what happened next? Michael's taken down to the cop shop and he very quickly turns on Karen. When asked during his arrest if he had anything to say, he said, yes, go and arrest Karen. He then told the police that he and Karen had hatched a plan to kidnap Shannon, and after a while, Michael was going to show up saying he'd found her and get the reward, which they would split. And, of course, this is well before it got to 50,000 and the crazy town that it was. She must have been assuming, maybe 10,000 or something. Now, it does seem pretty stupid, and this goes a bit back to something you were saying earlier, Carla, but it was also a plot line for a Shameless episode, which had aired a month or so before the disappearance.
No.
So where she got the idea from?
Well, the police deny that this was life imitating art, but the parallels of the Gallaghers and the Matthews are pretty damning.
All right.
On December 4, 2008, mum of 7, Karen, and Michael Donovan were both found guilty of kidnapping, false imprisonment and perverting the course of justice. Both were sentenced at Leeds Crown Court to 8 years behind bars. Craig Meehan was jailed for 20 weeks after unrelated child sex abuse material was discovered on his computer, or CSA. Is it CSA that they say it?
Community
CSAM
Service Announcement?
Child sex abuse. There's some acronym for it anyway. Karen, who has been dubbed Britain's most hated mum, was released from prison after serving a 4-year sentence.
Not enough.
She has received death threats and, according to the Daily Star, had a pot of scalding hot mushy peas poured on her head as she left her local takeaway.
Yes.
In May 2018, she claimed she is not Britain's worst mum, citing...
My neighbour's way worse than me.
Citing the fact that she didn't kill anybody and claimed, and this I think is disgusting, Baby P's mum and Maxine Carr don't get the abuse I do.
Nice parallel to draw there.
Isn't that awful? And by
They
the
wouldn't
way,
know what that is, though. They wouldn't know.
I didn't get
Maxine Carr,
No.
Baby P was the name given to a poor little boy who was beaten, starved, tortured to death by his parents. An incredible case of neglect and abuse in the UK, which sparked, I think, didn't it, Carla, like a total review of the social services and that? Yeah. And Maxine Carr was the partner of Ian Huntley, who murdered 2 little girls in Soham.
Yeah.
And she was accused of perverting the course of justice and also grooming children for Ian's pleasure, I suppose. And she got time as well, although I think she's out. And the funny thing about this woman saying, Maxine Carr doesn't get the abuse I do, Maxine Carr also wasn't a mother at the time that happened. She is apparently now, though, Carla. She had a baby a few years back.
Oh, God.
And she's had to have, I also read about Maxine Carr, she's had to have about 10 lots of plastic surgery because she's so hounded that she can't get on with her life because people just despise her.
Oh, so it's not plastic surgery to fix the damage that people are doing to her,
look
to
different.
disguise herself, like Nicole Kidman's prosthetic nose in the hours.
In the hours.
So the press continue to report on our mate Karen. They don't like her choice in partners as she is with a man once convicted of sexually abusing a 15-year-old. She has gone from menial job to menial job and frankly probably isn't worth the ongoing attention. And there you go. And that is the kidnap of Shannon Matthews perpetrated by her own mother, the most hated mother in Britain.
I remember it.
Wow.
Thought you would, yeah. So do I, because I remember going, oh, my God, they found her. Like everyone, it was a bit
They
like,
never find out. Yeah, it's not going to happen because they usually don't.
Forrest Gump probably did put it best when he said, "Stupid is as stupid does."
It speaks to a whole part of that society, doesn't it, where it is really feral.
Get me Lambert and Butlers.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even tell you what a really good cider is or a really cheap cider is because I would never drink
White
it.
Flash, was it White Lightning or Flash
Dickens.
or something?
She would have drunk Dickens.
Remember it came
sure.
there was one that came in like a large silver, like a soft drink bottle even. Do you remember that? White Lightning or something like that?
I know what you mean, but I can't remember what it was called. I would never have drunk it, so...
Because I thought you were going to say something like that. She gets up in the morning and has like an iron brew, one of those things. You know,
Hey.
I know you're going to start.
Iron
Don't
brew.
worry.
I like a good iron brew
I
myself.
don't doubt it.
Especially the zero sugar one. Yum.
What
But
was
that's
that
not
thing?
the same as a... Yeah, I'm thinking more like a Scrumpy. But that's
Scrumpy
'cause I'm
Jack.
from the Southwest. Yeah.
I got Scrumpy Jack in a 4-litre plastic container.
White Lightning was a brand of English white cider produced in the early 1990s to 2009. That'll be it then.
Yeah.
Gee.
Maybe that's what the
Oh,
second
God.
trolley. The
It just
second
looks
trolley
like
at the shop
it's so
was actually
cheap.
White
It looks like
Lightning.
a
I remember
Domestos
it.
or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
it does look like Domestos.
That's an alcoholic drink. Imagine how cheap that was.
Jesus. And you can clean your
Extra
toilets with it as
50%
well.
free. Yeah.
Oh, extra 50% free.
Nice dose of cirrhosis of the liver with that one.
Oh, there's an article in 2011. White cider is becoming like heroin among alcoholics. Oh,
Jesus.
sorry, that's a little bit of a
How so?
diversion.
Are they robbing houses for
Yeah.
it? Or are they injecting it?
How? Surely you don't get that euphoric from it. Or they're just dying suddenly with frothing mouths, can't even say it.
Does
White
Novocaine
Lightning.
help?
I don't know that they had it in our local.
And I know you'll be disappointed because I did read them, but I didn't write down the name of the drugs that she was given. But interestingly, Shannon's hair showed signs when they did some toxicology on it of that she had actually been being drugged by her mother for months and months in advance of this. Apparently, she liked to drug her the best, and this could be a tip for you, Swanee,
Yeah.
during the school holidays when she got in the
didn't
way
want
the
to do anything
most.
with them.
Yeah, so she
Oh.
would give her a bit of
Vanilla
diaz-
and put
I think
down-
it was,
Yeah.
I think it was
All day.
diazepam. I think it was
All right.
diazepam and make her sleepy. Yeah,
God.
Goodness.
I don't even know where she got the prescription drugs.
Do you know
from.
how
Yeah.
Shannon is nowadays?
Shannon and her siblings' names have been changed and they have been rehomed, for want of a better expression.
Rehomed. Jesus.
That was the word that was in my head, and I was thinking, what is the correct word? And then you said it. and I
I'm
went,
guessing they were fostered out.
Fostered,
And,
yeah.
But also not to other family members. So they didn't go
Yeah,
to...
not to the family tree or the family
aunties or anyone like
forest
oh, the
or the
family.
tree
No.
of life. Is it?
Yeah, and so we don't know where Shannon is now.
And she has no connection with the mum, or she probably wants to.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But apparently her mother, Karen, was given parenting classes when she was in jail.
Jeez.
And they've basically said because she may well go on to have more children, and so she should learn something now about how to do that.
That's not parenting. That's having a fucking moral compass.
Well, yes, and I
She's
think
just breeding. She's not parenting.
Yeah, that's different.
she didn't seem. She also though
Is
they
she
talked
part
about.
fish?
No, they talked about her diagnosis for herself, and she wasn't just neglectful of the children; she was pretty neglectful of herself too. So after she had every child, she'd do a Kelly Lang and check herself out of hospital against their
Yeah, right.
advice and that sort of stuff, and just go home and probably get back on the piss
Ciggies. Yeah,
and
yeah.
the darts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
God.
What you going to do?
Bad boy.
I think you
bad
kind of
boy.
glossed over what was it? Wasn't the dad? Was he the stepdad? I don't even know if he was
The
stepdad.
uncle?
No, the boy was the Craig.
Oh, little
So
Craig.
how long did Craig
had
end up in
nothing
hospital?
to do with it.
No, I know, but how long did Craig end up in hospital? I just said, didn't I say hospital?
Twice, yeah.
Jail,
You mean
sorry.
prison? Yeah, 20 weeks. So
Oh,
I don't know
20
how it
weeks for
happened.
his
For
child
his
pornography.
CSA.
Okay.
I think what happened was they may have taken his computer
Yeah,
because
they
they were
found it,
investigating and then they
basically,
found this. So that was not the
But
best.
he had no
you know.
idea?
No,
No.
he wasn't involved in it. There were a couple of other people whom I can't recall who were charged either with, I think it was hiding,
Yeah.
conspiracy or
Someone
hiding.
would have to
There
have
were
known,
a
right?
couple of other people that were involved in it
For
in
not
some
dobbing,
ways,
I
but
think is the correct term.
And they did it to get
could have been for not
what?
doing, yeah.
Money.
The reward money, yeah. So
But they didn't
but-
know that would happen. They assumed that would happen. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think they
Yeah. It's
said,
not like a
"Oh,
set
look,
amount. It was really pre-GoFundMe, but we can probably make some
frankly,
dosh out of this.
£500, they would have been happy with that. You know, like they wouldn't have expected it to go up to 50.
And they
What
were
about
going to
their
find
week
it.
of booze? The
I
trolley
think he
of
was so
booze?
dumb. He should have just taken her back earlier.
Yeah.
Like, why was he hanging on to her? Because if the plan was wander into a police station and say, I found her, she was hiding under my bed
Yeah.
and she's taken a lot of drugs and that's why she's been there, then, well, see, the thing about the rewards is if it's worded as a reward for any information that leads to finding Shannon versus, leads to an arrest.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's, I don't know what the terms of the reward was.
So I think, I know there's a lot of circumstance and whatnot, but honestly, someone who, this is a lot of what's wrong with the world today, the fact that people go, I might get, £50,000, but we're going to spend 3.2 million looking for a kid that is mine that I've helped kidnap. The angst that's caused the community, the fact that people have donated money, all these things, so
She
that
doesn't give a
selfish little Karen can try to get herself a quick buck. Like, 4 years isn't enough. She needs a whole lot more.
I don't think it is either. I'm surprised.
She got 8 years, but obviously she's a model prisoner.
Yeah, she found
She
God.
was actually. She did
Didn't
find
have
God.
any more kids.
She did. She found God. She
course
prayed
she
to get through it
fucking did.
because, they put her in. I think this was a bit harsh. They put her in a part of the jail with all the child killers, and so I think she did cop a lot in jail. I think she
That's
got a lot of.
She got mushy
beatings and
pee over
stuff.
her head. I'm okay
No,
with
she
that.
got beaten up quite a lot, and she's not a particularly tough individual. So I think jail was pretty harsh for her.
Am I bothered?
No, I can see that. I'm happy to sentence, and I'm going to sentence Karen because, she wasted a lot of people's time, to your point. And I think the reason that they say she's England's or Britain's most hated mother is because it's not that, it is that she organised to have her daughter kidnapped, but it's the duplicitousness of it.
Yeah, most shittest
the fact that,
person.
everyone who, for good charity, said, oh, it's the right thing to do. We'll all go out. We'll look for this kid. Or it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
We'll put money towards it. It's the right thing to do. We'll try and help this family. To feel, so done over, I think that's a lot to do with the
making links
psychology
to the
of why they're so furious.
McCanns and just.
Well, I think the press did that, to be fair. I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
she could have
did that.
gone. That's nothing like that, is it? Though.
I have a feeling I'm psychic. I think she might be with Uncle Michael.
Yeah, she's in with people who she knows, and they're keeping her warm or some shit.
Yeah. So my sentence for Karen, because I do think 4 years, even if she had it tough, probably isn't appropriate. But I'm going to ask you to cast your minds back to a story I did quite a long time ago. I'm going to have to look up his name, about the Brazilian cannibal.
Oh.
Anyway, the Brazilian cannibal, if you remember, Jorge something.
Jorge
Montenegro or something like that. It'll come to me. He was very angry with
Women.
those young women who were having children out of wedlock.
Yes,
That's right. He was too.
And
that's
he
about.
thought that they were, destroying
The
society.
fabric of society.
Yes, and they were very, very bad. So I'm going to send Karen to Trial by One World, where she will live in a village with Jorge. George. I think I just called him George. The whole
Yeah, I
way through
think
it,
you
but
did.
I think she can go and live with Georgie, that's it. Yeah. So she can go live with Georgie, and Georgie will be obviously off his nut like he is and want to try and eat her on occasion. And so she's just going to have to keep running, and it's good for her health because she could lose some of that weight she put on eating chocolate and chips in jail. And she's lost most of her teeth as a result, apparently. Anyway.
She was eating what? Chocolate and chips in jail.
Oh, my favourite diet. But yes, she got a bit depressed, so she was eating
How does she
chocolate
have
and chips.
access to it?
It's prison. It's not the moon, like.
No, I know, but they shouldn't be having treats.
Good chat.
They shouldn't be having treats.
I've told you before, prison's about rehabilitation.
Yep.
What about you guys?
I want her sentenced to a good old-fashioned lynching. Like
I
just
don't
get
think
the
so.
whole village, everyone who donated money, the people who paid the taxes for the 3.2 million, a little bit like about what's going on in northern Queensland at the moment, where the community just has an uprising and goes, we will not tolerate this, and therefore we'll get a...
Does that relate to the young teens?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of the
Bullied
youth
and
crime at the
brutally
moment.
hurt. Yep. Oh, it's a bit more than, sorry, I haven't seen
I
all
haven't
of
been
that.
following this at
I'm
all.
aware of some of
I
it. It's a
haven't
bigger
either.
piece, isn't it?
I
There's
only
a lot
know
about
headlines,
youth.
so
I think you're
crime.
right.
I'm no
Youth
expert on
crime,
it, but I do think
I
she
think
needs a
you're
good
right.
lynching. I want it to be a community-led punishment for all the people that she's done wrong by, because she hasn't just done wrong by her daughter. She's done wrong by a whole lot of people, and therefore they all need a little bit of opportunity to punish.
All right.
Okay.
Can you use any of that?
Jorge Negromonte, that's it.
How could you not
Yeah.
remember that name?
Montenegro, close enough.
Sorry, that's on the tip.
Negromonte. I mean, it's literally just
Well,
two
You're
very
letters
close.
turned
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
You're very close.
Serbia and Montenegro, Jorge and Negromonte.
That was episode
Were they in
29. This
Eurovision?
is episode 91. I mean, come on. That's pretty good memory.
You've done well.
me, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Swanee, go for it.
Well, okay. So I'm deciding to work in sort of the territory that I'm comfortable with, which is,
Psychological
I
nut
think,
punch.
not quite, well, kind of.
Good.
Karen needs to wake up and just have to do the hard yards. I want her to do a little bit of weekend sport. I want to have to do a little bit of the shit that I have to do. It's going to be she's going to have to be mum's taxi. And I want her to have to do a good job, and I want it to just be annoying,
Far out.
hard. You know what I mean?
I
Just
thought
painful.
running around with Jorge Negromonte was nasty, but you have topped it again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
So
could not
she's
think
got
of
to
anything worse.
just have to be a really
To 7,
stand
not
up
3.
on the
Imagine
job
it.
mum. How many kids she got? 7.
7.
And I want them all doing sport, all out doing after school activities. She has to work with the budget that she's got, so she's got to be doing breakfast at home, recess, lunch, after school snacks, and healthy dinners. That woman is going to be. That's a punishment that I wouldn't want. Trust me. I don't pretend that I could do any of that stuff. I do.
Canteen lady.
I dabble.
And no
Trust me.
durries because
And
you're
that's
around
the-
kids.
That's exactly
That's right.
right. She can't smoke near the kids. She can't drink while she's got the kids, because she's got to be driving all of them around to different
Yeah.
sports activities. She's going to be
And
busy.
she's gotta keep the
busy,
house clean.
busy. That's right. She's going to be a model mum, and to do that, she's going to just have to, get into it and get involved and do what's required.
Yeah,
For
nice.
all 7 of them.
Yeah, nice.
Mm.
Schmitty,
Nice.
I just want to go back. So I've just Googled the term lynch mob because I feel like I've been harshly done by. And it says a lynch mob is an angry crowd of people who want to kill someone without a trial because they believe that person has committed a crime. That's what I want for Karen. Doesn't necessarily have to kill her, but hurt her a lot.
Okay.
Public flogging, maybe?
Well, put her in the stocks.
Rocker.
See, I'd get her to do the walk of shame like Cersei,
Yeah,
but I
throw
wouldn't want to
shit
see
at
her
her.
naked.
Yeah, I don't want to see her
Yeah.
naked. Nobody needs to see that.
Oh, no, thanks,
Craig
Matron.
doesn't mind.
Enough people already have. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. and on those judgy little messages that
Yes.
Swati and I just ended with, thank you very much, guys. I thought you'd enjoyed that. I think you
good.
did.
Great story.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well played.
It's fun.
Miss you already.
Ta-ta.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.